Describe where you were and what you tried before you came to us. So I know we were just talking about that a little bit. Explain what you had tried for your grief recovery and kind of where you felt you were at when you found us.
I started with Grief Share. I looked online. I didn't know where else to start. And I was looking online, and I know the criteria for me was I wanted something that was Bible based, that was based with God and the belief with God. So Grief Share was where I started. And I don't, it wasn't for me. It people were wallowing. I wanted to learn how to get over the loss of my son. And the one thing, nobody in there had parents. So I'm losing somebody in your life. And I'm not minimizing in anybody's pain, but losing my son took the wind out of my sails, and I couldn't compare it. And there was nobody in there that I could identify with that was saying anything. And Grief Share, there was the book and there was the videos that we watched and we spoke about them, but it just wasn't for me. Nothing was clicking. So I went back online, and again, like I said to before, losing my son, I was losing me. And what got me, I was just like, I watched this program on some news program with this woman was talking about her daughter. She had lost her daughter. And the only way I know how to put it, this woman had her shit together. I mean, she was sitting in a chair talking about the loss of her daughter, and she wasn't a bowl of jelly. She wasn't crying. She hurt, but she was put together. And I was like, that's what I want. And so I went back online and I saw your advertisement, your Facebook feed that, if you're grieving and you've lost somebody, just give me a call. Just call me. And everything I read on your Facebook stuff, I mean, it would seem genuine and it was God based. And so I called and I spoke to you. And honestly, you were genuine. You didn't try to minimize my pain. You didn't tell me I had to get over it. You didn't tell me anything. You listened. For the first time, I felt like somebody was listening to my pain and my hurt and my confusion. And it was like, we can help you. And there was no pressure. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, you have to make a decision right now. There was nothing of that nature. And I got off the phone with you and I went to my husband and I said, David, I need X amount of dollars. And he said, okay, why? And I was like, I think this lady can help me. I said, I'm falling to pieces and I'm falling to pieces from the inside. I said, and he looked at me and he was like, Monica, you seem like you're not crying that much. And I just looked at him and I said, David, I cry every single day. And I was like, that little thing that you take hems out of in pants. I said, that's what I feel like my insides. I'm going to burst open just because I'm falling apart and I need help. I said, I need help. And I made the phone call to you, and you put me with Janelle. And what was so funny, because of Grief Share and because of talking to different people in a church, this is where I'm going to cry, Kelly. My son was a drug addict, and bottom line, fentanyl is what killed my child. And people have a tendency of having a very negative outlook on that. And you didn't make me feel like my son was a piece of shit.
Mm.
And Janelle, who you suggested, and I asked, I said, has she lost a child? Because again, I've lost people in my life, and I was like, I need somebody who's going to understand, you know, I just want to scream. And you told me about Janelle, and you said, just talk to her and see. And I thank God every day for the both of you.
Hmm. That's amazing. Do you remember, and you probably do, so one of the things we do quite often is ask on the scale of 1 to 10, right? Like, how are you feeling? What number are you at? So do you remember roughly, like, what number do you think you were at when you came and found us?
I said 0. 1 being really bad and 10 being good, and I was at a 0. And she didn't laugh at me. She was just like, okay. And I said, because I don't feel. I was numb. I didn't feel. I was honest to God. I've never felt this feeling of not feeling. I mean, I've never in my entire life, I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad. I did not feel. I felt like an enigma, a amoeba just sitting there. And Janelle was just like, okay, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So that's where I started, was at 0.
And remind me, how long after your son's passing did you work with Janelle? How much time had gone by?
Joe died on the 12th of February, and I want to say of 2021. I think I was at about 6 months when I was with Janelle. It was about 6 months in. To me, I mean, it felt like yesterday, but I had done a certain amount of, I think you had in one of your discussions I saw something that you had posted about not picking, when you have a sore or a scar, just let it heal. And mine was still in the real fresh stage, but there was a certain amount of, I think the not feeling part, I could just kind of put it to the side and go, okay, I can get through this. I can get through today. I was just getting by. It's the best way of doing it.
Yeah. And so how would you describe working with Janelle and going through the 12-week program? Like, what was most surprising for you, or what was a biggest shift for you, or just how would you describe the experience in general?
What I liked about it was the very first meeting. Janelle asked me basically what had happened. What had happened. And I mean, I know that night right now, like the back of my hand. But I mean, we were on the phone for 2.5 hours, and that woman just let me ramble. And it was probably the first time I've ever really was open and said, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was all done, she said, now we're going to we're going to not put this behind us, but now we're going to start healing. We're going to take all what you feel and we're going to learn what to do with it and make something positive out of that. And I looked at her and I went, how the fuck are you going to make something positive out of what I've just been through? And that's verbatim what I said to her. And she did.
Wow.
That 12-week program it saved my life.
Mm.
It brought me to where I feel. I mean, I feel happiness every now and then, and I don't feel guilty for being happy. I celebrate birthdays and celebrate weddings and celebrate holidays. And I mean, we're coming on to 2 years, but it's like Janelle said, that first year you remember your firsts of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very, very true about that. And what the change in me has been from my son is no longer here. You know, his birthday's in April, and you know, he died in February, and oh my God, it's taken me 2 years, and I'm going to start the tattoo on the 4th of December in honor of my son. It's taken me this long to decide what I wanted because I'm not one of those people that want the sparrows and all that. I wanted,
Right.
so mine's a little different. It's going to be very different. But so was Joe. And I've come to terms, Janelle, the mantra, I guess, the words, the sayings, and the one that has stuck with me the most was because I've had so much guilt. When you have a son that's addicted to drugs, you go through emotions. I threw Joe out, I've been called an enabler. I mean, just the guilt that comes with it
Yeah.
all. And one of the things that I repeat to myself, which one of my sayings was, I made the best decisions for myself and for my son based on what I knew at that time. And he's okay, and I'm okay. And I probably repeat that 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
Self. And the other thing is that flipping box breathing. I'm gonna tell you, if nobody gets anything after 12 weeks, but you can figure out and do box breathing, that is probably the most helpful thing for me. Sitting at a stoplight, seeing that reminds me, especially that first year, the box breathing. I mean, and then coming to the realization, because of my belief in God and it's Christian based, what is all spoken about, what you talk about, what this whole program is about. Because my one thing, and Janelle said I made her life a little bit easier because I didn't blame God. I wasn't mad at God. No, there was nothing inside. I was grateful to him because I know the pain that my son was in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to now deal with the pain that I was feeling and in getting past all that. And how do I live again? Your program, Kelly, and I told Janelle, I said, you tell that lady, I don't know why, and she should never ask why. Just keep moving forward, please, ma'am. Keep forging forward, because so many of these grief groups And I belonged to a group because I didn't know anything about fentanyl. When Joseph passed away, and it took 6 weeks, and I got the toxicology report, and come to find out he had fentanyl in his system. I remember I looked at the detective in verbatim. I said, "What the fuck is fentanyl?"
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
At 27 NG. I said, "What the dickens is 27? And what's an NG?" I mean, I'm not an ignorant woman, but come to find out it was a whole lot. And so I belong to a group because to me, I want to learn. And but these moms go over and over every single day. They say the same thing, and you just want to look at them going, "You say you believe in God,
Mm.
then you need to go find out what heaven is like so you understand where your child is at."
Right.
And that's what I learned. And
Mm.
it was like, Joe's okay.
Right.
Be okay.
Yeah.
I need to be okay. And the thing about it is your program taught me how to live again. I've got 2 more children. You know,
Need
me,
their mama. Yeah.
I mean, Joe is my oldest. Matthew and Anna are my twins. Well, they dealt with me dealing with Joe with his addiction.
Yeah.
Well, now they didn't need to lose, they've lost their brother.
Right.
They didn't need to lose their mom all
Yeah.
over again because they felt like they'd lost me already one time before. And that's where, you know, Janelle and I had come up with 5 sentences that work for me, that, you know, I will honor Joe, but I cannot forget Anna and Matthew. I cannot forget. I have a husband who, bless his heart, has put up with me, you know, crying. He's put up with Joe's addiction. He's put up with me being in a good mood at a phone call, or a bad mood after a phone call. And your program helped me put it in perspective and realize I have a belief in God, so give it to him. I mean, I looked at somebody the other day and I said, "You need to sit down and have a conversation with God and give it to him. And then don't be an Indian giver and take it back.
Right.
You need to." I said, "That's one thing." You know, Janelle said, "If you give it to God, then let him have it." You know, you just, and that is one of the things that, you know, it was hard in getting over the guilt. That was the other thing your program, I think, besides the box breathing, was I didn't need to feel guilty. I
Yeah.
didn't need to, it was okay to laugh. It was okay to be in a good mood. It was okay to, and to enjoy life once again, like I did before all this happened,
Right.
before this. And, I don't know. You're a godsend. So, I mean, I'd say I've said that to people. Your program and you are a godsend. It was worth the work, because there was a certain amount. If you think this is easy, it's not, because you have to work and you have to look at yourself from the inside. And, you know, Janelle never made me feel like I was being judged. My son was not being judged. We were dealing with emotions. We were dealing with my feelings and where were they coming from. Now, where did they come from? Or, you know, are they, you know, based on truth, or are they based on what I think it's
Right.
supposed to be? And that was something else. It was like, oh, I thought when somebody died, you were supposed to, like, you know, walk around and be, you know, Edgar Allan Poe is my father type of thing.
Right.
You know, how dare you be so unloving, because, you know, I'm laughing again even though my son is not here, and I didn't think that's how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I number one, other than my parents, I mean, and I remember my dad dying when I was 21. It took me 3 years to get over the death of my father. And I'm like, Oh, I wished I'd have known you when I was 21. I might not have screwed my life up as bad as I did.
Yeah, and you've touched on it already, but so like let's say somebody is on the fence, like they're thinking about maybe doing this or not doing this, like what would you say to them?
You have absolutely nothing to lose by giving this a try. The only thing you will lose is the myth that we all have in our head on how we're supposed to behave, think, and interact when we lose somebody close to us. When somebody dies, we are not supposed to die also.
Amen.
We are supposed to respect the deceased and honor them. And that is something that is reiterated throughout your program. And if you want to learn to live again and you're willing to take a chance on yourself and give yourself a gift, I would
Yeah.
say, please, please, you've got 12 weeks. At the end of 12 weeks, I'm going to tell you right now, at the end of 12 weeks, if somebody doesn't think this program helped them, I would look at them going, then you didn't go in this with an open mind. You have not been honest with yourself, because there's no way that I never dreamed. On the 13th of February, I remember sitting in my living room, and this is my son. They had carried my son out in a bag. I found Joe. So they carried him out. My husband and I found Joe. And I never thought I was ever going to live again. My world had just come to an end. I felt like I was shattered into 5 million pieces, and I was never going to be able to breathe or do anything. And I am sitting here the 12th of February of 2024, which is next year. I always lose track of the dates. To honor my son, I am going to go to Costco and find out how much birthday cakes cost. And I haven't decided on how much money. I'm just going to give them and say, look, this is how many birthday cakes I want to pay for. So that everybody that comes in here ordering a birthday cake, they put this much towards their birthday cake.
I love it.
Because that to me is the way I can say, here, Joe, this is what I've done for you. Because he was in so much torment and hurting. And I remember him always telling me how lonesome he felt. I don't need to feel that way anymore. And I can do something to make it all something positive. And wallowing in self-pity, I mean, I still listen to, my son was no saint, trust me. I still listen to his gangster rap, and sometimes I'll turn it on really loud. And I mean, I've got a sports car, and I'm down the road praying to God I don't get a speeding ticket. And that's what I want to do, but I do it and I'm not crying.
Yes. Amen.
I'm
Yeah.
doing it when, hey, Joe, I'm thinking of you, son, or it's just, I have, now I have to go through the storage unit, and I'm on the verge of calling Janelle going, okay, kick me in the butt just a little bit. I could do this, right? I haven't been to the store. I went to the storage unit this past weekend with my husband, and I started to cry. I mean, his clothes are in there. I need to go through all this stuff. And I think I'm about as prepared as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And my mantra, my 5 sentences, this: I need to do this. He would want this done. And this is what you learn from this program. You learn how to reprogram your thinking to where it's almost like you're giving yourself permission to be yourself again
Yes.
and take their memory and everything good about whomever. I take everything good about Joseph, and it's just like, this is what y'all taught me.
Yeah.
It's okay to live. I feel like I could sit in a room and talk about fentanyl and talk about losing a child because of fentanyl and do it and be coherent and be respectful to another mom who hasn't lost their child yet, but be able to be candid with them and be respectful. If there's a chance you're going to lose your child if something doesn't happen.
Right.
And I did look at somebody and I told them, and I said, if it happens, I said, let me know, because I know a lady I want to put you in touch with. Because God doesn't mean for us to sit here. Things happen. And I remember I kept asking myself, why did God make me go through this?
Mm.
Why did this happen? Why me? For me, what helped me, this program helped me look at things from the perspective that I had to be real about the whole situation. Now, somebody who loses a child because of a car accident or loses their mom and dad because of cancer. I mean, I think the pain is all the same, but with mine, I've lost a child and I had to go. He was in pain and he was lonesome and he was miserable, and God knew it. And if I went and he was still alive, that would be the worst thing that could happen to Joe. So it had to happen this way. But I can take what I've learned from it all and learned how to deal with my grief and share that. Because if I can I've told somebody, if I can pick myself up, put 2 feet in front of each other and smile, by God, there ain't a damn reason that you can't. There is nothing on this earth that I feel like at this point in time that I could not get through, but I couldn't have done it without this. I couldn't have. I would not have this mindset
Yeah.
without the grief counseling and the knowledge and the tools that I received from taking that program. That was the best 12 weeks of my life. And
Wow. So what number would you give yourself today? And I don't know if you can remember, like, so you came in at a 0. Do you remember what number you were at, like, shortly after the 12 weeks? And then what number are you at today? 0 to 10 or 1 to 10?
some of them I was at a 8 and a 9, and there was some I was at a 10. I think there's one question on there about how you feel about God or something. That has been a 10 from
From the jump.
to the end and to now. If you'd have talked to me on Sunday, I'd have probably told you about an 8.5 or a 9. That's when I went through the storage unit. But on average, I'm a 10. I'm a
So
10.
please, for the people in the back, do you believe that recovery is possible?
Yes. There's not a doubt in my mind. If you want it, recovery is very possible. It is work. It is hard. It's emotional, but it is the most life-saving thing I've ever done for myself and for the rest of my family, because they have me back, but I have me back.
That's amazing.